Let's go ahead and start again. Now we're going to be talking about the power that self-confidence has on your speech. The power self-confidence has on your speech. Some of you watching this have probably experienced times where you felt more confident and for one reason or another you spoke better. Has that ever happened to you? So if you're watching this and you're able to, go ahead and type into the chat box that, yes, this has happened to me, or no, it hasn't. Where you just felt more confident and therefore you spoke better. Has that ever happened to you? Well, I can tell you that for many of my clients and students, they have experienced this. That is, they have told me that for some reason they just felt a little more self-confident, and as a result, they were able to speak better. Sometimes they've gone completely fluent. So what is it about the self-confidence thing that enables us to often be able to speak more fluently? What's the connection between confidence or self-confidence and what? And speech. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And then I'm going to share with you at least 3 things that you need to do to build your confidence so that it can influence and impact and positively impact your speech. So what's the connection between confidence and speaking smoothly? Well, the connection is this, that when we feel more confident, we often feel like we're in more control. We often may feel like we're more relaxed. And when we feel this way, we shift our focus away from our speech and we shift it on something else. We think about the moment that we're enjoying, the conversation that we're having. We don't self-reflect. We don't think about ourselves. We don't become self-conscious. So we feel better about the way that we're speaking, or we feel better about the situation that we're in, and therefore we speak better. So let's go a little deeper in terms of the connection self-confidence has with our speech. There's another dimension to self-confidence that's very important. That dimension is that when you've seen yourself speak well, that is, when you've had previous successful speaking experiences, you feel more confident. So in other words, when you can go back in your mind and say, oh, I answered the phone well that time. I introduced myself well. I gave a great presentation. I was able to say this. When you can go back in your memory and see positive speaking experiences, what happens? You actually feel more confident. So there's kind of a cycle that when you perform better, right? When you perform better, or when you've had better performances in the past, this increases your level of confidence. And when your confidence is increased, then you have better performance in the future, and it's a cycle. So sometimes the performance comes first, sometimes the confidence comes first, but they both affect each other, right? They both affect each other. So what do we want to do? What you want to do to increase your confidence is you want to create more positive, successful speaking experiences. Does this make sense? You want to create more positive, successful speaking experiences. So the more successful speaking experiences you have, the more memories, right, your experiences are imprinted in your memories, in your brain literally, right? The more content, the more memory content your brain has to go back and say, aha, we were successful in introducing ourselves yesterday. We were successful in giving this presentation. We were successful in saying what we wanted to say. Right? We were successful in ordering this food. So therefore, we feel more confident. We feel like we're able to do this again. We trust. This word confidence comes from, or has a similar Greek root as the word trust. To confide, to trust, confidence, trust, okay? Fidelity, if you will. So our brain, that is the part of ourselves that is able to reflect on that experience. It goes back and it says, aha, I trust that we can say this again because we did it in the past. We said it in the past. So what's critically important to your self-confidence is your ability, right? Now, this is something that you have under your own control, is your ability to create successful speaking experiences. And I'm going to tell you how you do that in just a moment. So that's a key to developing self-confidence. Why does self-confidence impact our speech? Because our brain says, aha, we feel really good about saying this now. For whatever reason, your brain says, I feel really good that we're going to be able to say this. And so when you feel really good about it and your brain feels like, hey, you know what, we've done this in the past, or you know what, you're really relaxed, or you're really calm here, or you don't need to worry about anything, then you feel more confident. When you feel more confident, then you perform better. That is, you speak better. So what we want to do is we want to create more of those experiences where we've been successful, where we are able to be successful in saying whatever it is that we want to say. So then, how do we do this? How can you create more successful speaking experiences? How can you create more positive speaking memories? That's the key. That's because if you can create them, your brain records them and you're going to feel more confident. Here's an example. When you know that you've studied or you've prepared for a presentation, even if you're a little worried about getting stuck or stuttering, but you feel a lot more confident going in, right? It doesn't mean that you're not going to get stuck or whatever, but you just feel more confident. Why? Because you know inside yourself that you took the time and the effort to prepare. Your brain knows this. Your brain was there with you, right? Your brain says, aha, we actually put in some time and we prepared for this thing. So we feel a lot more confident. Does that make sense? When you go into an exam that you've prepared for, anything that you've prepared for, you tend to feel more confident. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to do well at it, right? But it does necessarily mean that you're going to feel more confident because you know you've put in the work. So I want to give you a few things. Great question. How is faith and belief different from each other with regards to our speech and confidence? Okay, good question. I'm going to address that in just a moment. I take it that you can hear me now. So let me just give you a few things that you're going to want to do to build your confidence, to build your self-confidence. Number one, in terms of speaking, that is, right? Number one, you're going to want to speak more. You're going to want to get out and speak more, right? So this is a decision that you make that, hey, I'm going to get out and speak more. Number two, you're going to want to use your new speaking style that you're developing using a system like the Pro 90 speech system, right? So you're going to want to get out and speak more, and then you're going to want to use your new speaking style when you do speak. And number three, you're going to want to look for small successes whenever you speak. All right? So let's talk about that. Number one, you're going to need to get out and speak more. One of the things that many of my clients tell me is that as they're going through the Pro 90 speech system, the first thing that happens is that they feel more confident. Now listen, they feel more confident. Why is this important? Feeling more confident is important because it motivates them and encourages them to actually go out and speak more. Now follow me. So the more confident they feel, the more they're willing to speak. And the more they're willing to speak, the more opportunities they actually have to develop successful speaking experiences, right? So in other words, if you're going through any kind of program, doesn't matter if it's mine or someone else, but you're not actually getting out, putting yourself in those everyday speaking situations, putting yourself in those situations where you used to get stuck, right? If you're not actually doing that, then there's hardly any way you're going to improve. So by feeling more confident, hey, I can do this. I can go order this coffee and I can say my name, right? You feel more confident. You expose yourself to more speaking opportunities, giving yourself the chance and the opportunity to create successful speaking experiences, positive speaking memories. Well, someone says, well, what if I expose myself and I keep messing up? Aren't I then creating more negative speaking experiences? Yes. However, That's where having a systematic approach comes in. So you don't just go out and feel confident and expose yourself to more speaking experiences and continue to reinforce stuttering. Right? That's not what I'm saying. There's a couple of components that have to be present. Notice the first thing I said is you have to be willing to get out and speak more. We're talking about building your self-confidence, right? In order to build your self-confidence, you need to trust yourself. You need to be able to trust yourself. Okay? How do you trust yourself? Well, you have to be able to prove to yourself through your experiences that you did what you said you were going to do, that you are capable of doing something. How do you do that? You actually have to do it, right? How do you do that? Well, you have to actually get out and speak. You have to be willing to speak more. That's number one. Number two, you have to try to use your new speaking style. What are you talking about, Michael? New speaking style? I'm not really familiar with that. What does that mean, new speaking style? In the Pro 90D speech system, remember I told you that I wrote a book called Don't Try to Stop Stuttering, Replace It Instead, or instead replace it. What do I mean by that? What I mean is speech is a skill. It's a learnable skill. And speaking is also a habit, right? It's a pattern. It's a pattern of behavior. When I'm speaking, I'm actually doing something. It's an activity. It's an action. It's a behavior. But not only is it the physical act of speaking, but there's also a psychology going on behind my speech. How do I see myself as a speaker? How do I feel about myself? What are my beliefs about my ability to communicate well? What are my attitudes about, right? So there's a whole psychology, there's a whole psychological dimension to speaking, okay? So what's happening then is you need to be able to create what? A new way of speaking, because speaking is a skill and it's a habit. So rather than trying to treat or fix the way you currently speak, forget about that. Let's go in and build a brand new speaking style. One that's better than the old one. One that's better than the average person's speaking style. Why? And how do we do this? We do this because it's better for you that you take this opportunity. Right, you got to work on your speech anyway. It's better for you to take this opportunity to build an awesome speaking style, an amazing speaking style, an excellent speaking style, than to just try to fix what's broken. Right? Why would you want to spend the time and money to try to fix what's broken? And if it works, you're just getting back to norm, if that, right? Why do that when you can create a brand new speaking style that you use automatically, that it just becomes the way you speak? It becomes an excellent way of speaking, and where your speech becomes your greatest asset. Right? Why not do that? Why not do that? So you want to then create a new way of speaking, and you can do it because speaking is a learnable skill, and speaking is a pattern of behavior, and patterns can be changed or replaced. You can create new patterns, right? Absolutely, this is an absolute fact. Doesn't matter if stuttering is genetic, if something's wrong with your brain, it doesn't matter. Your brain can be rewired to create a new way of speaking. All right? Here's the second part to that. You can create a new way of thinking about speaking, thinking about yourself as a speaker. That is, you can create a new speaking identity. An identity that's more confident. That's a more confident speaker. Does this make sense? You can create this, right? So the first thing that we talked about that you need to be willing to get out and speak more, because that's what's going to create these new memories. The second thing that's necessary is to try to use your new speaking style. Where does the new speaking style come from? It comes from, for example, like the Pro 90D speech system. So in the Pro 90D speech system, we give you the tools and the techniques, the process to create a new way of speaking. It's not a strange way, it's a better way, it's a smoother way. I'll just take a couple of moments and share with you an experience. So I'm just looking here at the time. I was away at a retreat, a business retreat, and I had an opportunity to speak on stage before 100 and some people. And I also had an opportunity that same day. These were last minute things. I had not planned to do it, didn't prepare for it, except for a few minutes before. Had an opportunity to teach a workshop in front of my colleagues, about 35 people or so. And I was far more nervous and anxious about getting up on stage than the workshop. The workshop, I felt very little nervousness, maybe just for a minute, and that's it. The stage, I was quite nervous, right? Really nervous. And I used all the techniques that I share with you in terms of preparing and breathing and focusing on the audience. And when I started, I took my time. I went extremely slow, but I made sure I inflected my voice. I moved a little. I engaged the audience, right? But inside, I still felt a little nervous. Probably would have taken me just a few minutes. Had I been speaking for more than 5 or 10 minutes, then I would have really gotten into the groove. But let me tell you what people said. And they didn't have to come up to me and say anything, right? People deliberately came up to me and said, that was so smooth. You hear me talk about speaking smoothly. So here's someone coming up. What do they say? That was so smooth. That was powerful. You engaged me. You engaged the audience. And many other things people said. Again, they didn't have to come to me to say that. They came because it had an impact on them. Why am I telling you this? Because everything that I'm teaching you, I used this past weekend. When I did the workshop, people said, that was clear, that was confident, that was smooth, that was engaging, right? Same kinds of words. So what I'm teaching you, I'm living myself. I actually am able to do it. I'm watching people like you do it, and you'll learn how to do it using the Pro 90D speech system. So you'll build your confidence. See, I've had hundreds and hundreds of these experiences, if not more. So when I went there, even though I was nervous to get up on that stage, I knew that I would be able to do it, right? Not because of how I felt in the moment, but because my brain just went back and said, you've done this hundreds of times. Even though you haven't done it recently, right? But you've done it hundreds of times, so you're going to just take your time, relax, focus on the audience, and you'll be able to do it this time. You can do the same thing. But you need a systematic approach. You need to be willing to speak more, right? Creating opportunities, expose yourself to opportunities. But in order to maximize, optimize those opportunities, you're going to need to create and try to use a brand new way of speaking that we teach in the Pro 90D speech system. What else are you going to need? You're going to need to be willing to look for small successes. So even though you do the first two things, of course there's going to be times where you get out and you mess up. But you say, wait a minute, I felt more confident. Even though I messed up, I felt more confident. Or you know what? I felt confident and I started out well. Even though I messed up later, but I felt confident, I started out well. Or you might say, you know what? I felt more confident, I started out well, and I actually spoke a little better throughout the whole thing than I usually would. Right? It wasn't great. I still messed up a few times, but I actually spoke better than what I usually would. So you're going to be looking for little successes, feeling more confident, starting out better. Or if you start out bad, well, I was able to recover back. Just any little success. Because what that does is that keeps you motivated. It keeps you in motion. It keeps you doing number one, which is what? Actually getting out and being willing to speak more. It keeps you being willing to do that. And all of those things are creating more successful speaking experiences. They're creating more positive speaking memories. And the more you do that, the more data your brain has as it goes into your memory to look for previous experiences, to kind of build a pattern, to build a routine, to build a script, to say, okay, how are we going to act when we introduce ourselves? How are we going to act when we present? How are we going to act when we order coffee, right? Your brain doesn't want to have to consciously think about how to do these things. It wants to build a routine, a pattern, a habit, so that it does these things automatically. What your job is to input this new, successful, positive data so that your brain has this new successful positive data to create this new routine, this new speaking and thinking routine. How do you do that? You do those three things that I talked about. You must be willing to get out and speak more. You must be willing to create and use a new speaking style. How do you do that? Pro 90D speech system, right? You must be willing to look for little successes. Don't say, oh, okay, I'm using the system and I'm supposed to be cured of stuttering, or I'm not going to stutter anymore, or I'm supposed to see this within a couple of weeks. No, you got to look for little successes to build your momentum. And if you keep doing that, I promise you, because it's the way your brain is built, they're going to start to accumulate. And it might be slow, and you might not see the results that you want at first, but if you just keep following the systematic approach and tweaking it, right, figuring out, okay, what do I need to do different here? You keep doing that. What eventually is going to happen is it's going to accumulate, and boom, you're going to see a bump. You're going to say, wow, I feel a lot more confident now. Ooh, I'm speaking extremely well. I saw somebody send me in a tracker that we have. It's called a speech confidence tracker. So just a little form that I give to my coaching clients. And they said their confidence was up at like a 9 and their speech was at like an 8 or something like that. I've had people say, mine is at a 9 or a 10. So your confidence is going to increase. Your speech is going to get smoother if you follow this systematic approach. All right? The power that self-confidence has on your speech is tremendous. All right? It's incredible. You probably, I can't say everyone has, there are some people who feel very confident and still stutter, right? So I want to just put that out there. So it's more than just having self-confidence. You gotta have a systematic approach for creating a new way of thinking and a new way of speaking. And both of those things together, as you create them, you then begin to build your confidence. So confidence hugely impacts your speech. I mean, it has a huge impact on your speech. So our system helps build, in fact, that's one of the first things, as I mentioned before, that generally increases is your self-confidence. And that's absolutely necessary, and it's incredible that that happens. The second thing that generally starts to improve is obviously your speaking smoothness. And then these things begin to work together. You feel more confident, so you begin to perform better. You perform better, you feel more confident, and it creates that cycle. All right, so I want to answer this question here. How is faith and belief different from each other with regards to our speech and confidence? So they're actually all related. If you go back and you research the root words of faith and belief and confidence and trust, they're all related. They all have similarities, okay? So if I have faith in something, generally we say that I believe that something's going to happen. It hasn't happened yet, but I believe, I have this belief or this confidence or this trust that it's going to happen. Okay, so we can actually use these words interchangeably sometime, most of the time. If I have faith in you, it means I trust you. It means I have confidence in you. Where does that trust or faith or belief come from? Well, generally it comes from you doing what you said you were going to do enough times that I now, or that we now have established a record, if you will, right? A bank of experiences that I can now draw off of, right? So if you continuously do what you say you're going to do, then I have memories of you doing what you said you were going to do. And it's these memories, it's these experiences that we've had that then tell me, okay, this is a person that you can trust. This is a person that you can believe when they say something. This is a person that you can have faith in. All right? Does that make sense? So they really are all related. There's obviously a religious dimension that when you have faith in someone, faith in God, and you have a belief system, right? We also have a belief system about who we are as speakers. This is your self-concept, your identity. So we have this belief that okay, when I go introduce myself, I'm going to get stuck. Or when I introduce myself, I don't even think about it, right? I don't get stuck. So you have a belief system that underlies everything that you do, and often you're not even aware of it because it's sitting beneath your consciousness, unconscious, subconscious. It's sitting down there, yet it is what's driving you and motivating you and impacting you and influencing you to do and say and act and feel in certain ways. Okay, this belief system. So what we have to do often is we have to challenge our beliefs. We have to become aware of what we believe. What do you believe about yourself? This is why we change the words that we use. We don't refer to ourselves as stutterers, because what you're doing is reinforcing a belief, an identity about who you are, not what you do, which is temporary, but who you are. So you don't say, I'm a stutterer. You don't even really want to say, I have a stuttering problem. Now, sometimes that's appropriate, but most of the time it's not, right? You want to change the words that you use so that it can help change the beliefs. You want to change what you're thinking, what you're listening to, what you're seeing. You want to change your behaviors, practice speaking in a new way, right? All things that we teach in the Pro 90 speech system, all of these things help change your beliefs. And when you change your beliefs, it's kind of like your operating system, it's the program that's running. You start changing your beliefs, you literally start changing the way you feel, the way you think, the way you speak. You start building this confidence, which then spills over and affects your performance, the way you actually speak. Okay? So I hope that that made sense. Thank you so much for those of you that are watching, and for those of you that are watching the replay of this, I want to thank you. And I want to just encourage those of you who are watching this video that if you want a systematic approach to help you say what you want to say without worrying about stuttering, if you want to stop constantly worrying about stuttering and having that limit and control your life, then I want to encourage you to take a look at one of two things. Number one, our self-study premium. It is priced at $274. And if you're looking for that kind of approach to help you to be able to do the things that you want to do, you need to take a look at our self-study premium. I'll have a link. You can simply go to our website and do all the research that you need on that program. Number two, for those of you that might be taking one of the self-studies, or maybe you're not, and you know that you need greater accountability, evaluation, someone to look at you and go, aha, that's what you need to work on. Feedback, okay, great, you're doing that. Wait, don't do that, do this. Accountability, keeping you on track, keeping you focused, evaluation, feedback, and encouragement. Sometimes we get discouraged. All of us do. This isn't working, and then we stop and we go do something else, and we come back, well, that was working, right? So we end up spending and wasting a lot of time and money. If you need greater accountability, evaluation, feedback, and encouragement, then you're going to want to get in touch with me about a say what you want to say breakthrough session. This is where you and I are going to get together for at least 30 minutes and talk about the best options for you. And for many of you, the best option might be a self-study. For some of you, the best option is going to be an 8-week or a 12-week. When you talk to me, you're going to find out exactly what you need to do to improve your speech. If you don't need the 8 weeks, I'm not going to tell you that you need the 8 weeks. I do this all the time. I tell people you don't need the 8 weeks, you don't need the 12 weeks, start with the 8 weeks. If you need the 12-week, I'm going to say you need the 12-week. Or I'm going to say, hey, I think the best option for you now is to do the self-study. Or I might say, hey, I don't think this is the right program for you. I think you need to watch some of my free videos first before you invest any money, or try something else. So, Pro 90 Speech System is for who? It's for people who are professionals or professionally minded, and you're willing to invest a reasonable amount of time and money. It's not free. I have a lot of free stuff out there that you can find on YouTube, and it's high quality stuff. But if you want a systematic approach, and you don't want to spend a lot of time piecing it all together, and you want to get some of my latest stuff, remember, I'm coaching every day. I'm looking at neuroscience and researching and looking back at my own experiences. And what I do is I take the very best stuff from my own clients and from the world of neuroscience and habit development and learning, and I continue to try to put myself out of business. That is, to create a more efficient and more effective program. So if you want my latest stuff, then you're going to want to go ahead and get the self-study or enroll in the coaching in which you get the self-study by itself, okay? So I want to encourage you to do that. This is not for people that are just looking for free resources. If you look for free resources, there's plenty out there. But if you really want to invest some time and some money and accelerate your progress, if you're out there, you're a professional, or you're in college and you got interviews coming up, you want to expand your career, your current position is expanding into greater speaking role. If you're intelligent, if you're watching this and you're intelligent, but you're simply not able to project that, to communicate that, to articulate that because of stuttering, this is going to be the system for you. I'm looking for people who want to become excellent speakers, amazing speakers, awesome speakers. I'm not looking for people who just want to stop stuttering. Can this work for you? Sure. But you're going to do better if you actually have a desire to speak and to speak well. Okay? It doesn't mean you want to be a public speaker or you want to get up on stage. It could just mean you want to be able to speak really well in meetings. You want to be able to speak really well on phone conferences. You want to be able to speak really well in social situations, right? So I'm looking for people that want to speak well, not just want to not stutter. All right, that's who this is for. So if this is for you, go ahead and get in contact with me right now. Got some very special offers going on. One being, if someone enrolls in coaching and they take action now, I'm giving a $500 fast action discount. So if you say, you know what, Michael, this is for me, I've been messing around long enough, I give people $500 off the cost of coaching when they take action now. Why? I do that because often people will sit on my list for years and then they'll come back and go, I wish I had done this earlier. So I want to incentivize you to take action now because I know it's going to help you, right? All right. So if you take advantage of the self-study and you contact me like right now, you say, Michael, I want to do the self-study, then I'm going to give you 10% off, right? But only if you email me. So if you go buy it, it's going to be the regular price. If you email me and say, I watched your video and you said you'd give me 10% off, I'm going to give you a coupon for 10% off of the self-study. For what? Say, I saw this in the video, okay? Thank you so much for watching this. My name is Michael Williams. I hope this has been helpful. Quick review, 3 things you need to do to build your confidence so that it positively impacts your speech. Number 1 is what? It is to be willing to get out and speak more. You got to get out and speak more. Number 2, you got to create and try to use your new speaking style every time you speak. Create and try to use a brand new speaking style every time you speak. Don't just get out and expose yourself. You got to expose yourself trying to use a new style of speak. Number 3, you got to look for little successes. Oh, I felt more confident, or I spoke a little better. Those are 3 things you need to do. Thank you so much. We'll see you next time.